so loud. You wouldn't have been able to hear me if I didn't shut it off. 2025 Jag F-Pace SVR. The F-Pace has been around for almost 9 years now, and the SVR is the big send-off. This is the last year of the F-Pace SVR and that glorious 5-liter supercharged V8 under the hood. As far as I can tell, it's the last compact SUV with a huge V8. And yeah, you guys probably know Jag is planning to go all electric, but I have a feeling that's not the only reason why this is the last F-Pace, the last gasoline-powered Jag. Let's enjoy it while we can. Yeah, there it is. All right, so sometimes I'll start with a little walk around the exterior and stuff, but I figure that's probably not what most of you guys are here for. You want to know how the F-Pace SVR drives. Is it loud enough? Is it abrasive enough? Things like that. So let's find out. All right, 5-liter V8 under the hood. Supercharged, of course. This engine's been around for a long time. 567 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque. That's an increase of 25 horsepower, 25 PS, I should say, from last year. And that's because this is the send-off. It's the 575 edition. That is nasty. It is incredible. 4,800 pounds to lug around here, but wow, there's a big bump. We'll get to suspension a little bit later. It's effortless. It's absolutely effortless. You know, all of the competition, they have hybrid systems, either that or if they have a twin turbo 6-cylinder or even 8, but a 6-cylinder, they're doing a lot to spool those turbos as quickly as possible. Get that torque ramp up as soon and as flat as possible. Here's an easy way to do it, you guys. Just use a supercharger. A belt-driven supercharger that runs with RPM, instantaneous throttle response, and just any RPM. And you put your foot down, even just a little bit, and the torque just rolls on. It just greets you. It's always there. Zero to 60 in 4 seconds, quarter mile in 12.6 at 114 miles per hour, I believe. I'll put it up on screen right now. But let's put it in dynamic mode. There's this button down here. Really good tactile feel. I love that. Pop it up, go into dynamic. We can adjust our settings. I have everything in the sport setting except for the suspension. And we'll just mat it and go. Continuously pulls, just brutal, savage. Any number of adjectives I could throw out right now. It's incredible. The engine's incredible. You're never going to need more power than this. It's docile when you want it to be, so even in dynamic mode here, I can take the transmission out of sport, which is a separate setting down here on the gear selector, go back into drive. The 8-speed automatic here shifts amazing. The blips aren't the greatest. They're not. Oh, that is brutal. That'll wake you up. It's not as aggressive as you might think on the downshifts, but there is a noticeable change on the upshifts in dynamic mode. It gives you like a noticeable kick where you can just leave it in the smooth setting, and it's awesome. It works wonderfully. Now there is a flap in the exhaust, so we've been in loud mode this entire time. Now let's go into quiet mode. There's no difference. It's the same. You know, you can take the SVR out of the jungle, but you can't take the jungle out of the SVR. I think that's how that goes. You can't quiet it down ever. It's going to be loud all the time. Good thing is though, it's pretty much all outside. It's very quiet inside here. Road noise is great. It's quiet in here. One thing I do wish it had was like a supercharger whine. Where's like the Hellcat kind of American muscle car supercharger one? There's none of it. So it's all coming out of the exhaust. As time has gone on, it's gotten better. You know, when this came out, it wasn't a crazy thing to have a supercharged V8, but it wasn't as offensive. Now, as things have progressed, we have all these EV mandates, it's more offensive. It's more offensive, it's more rebellious, and it's just a little bit more unapologetic about what it's carrying. This engine is what I think of when I think of Jaguar, and it has been for the last 15 years. So my question is, why get rid of this now? Why not add a hybrid system or something like that if you're trying to target those other compact SUV buyers where all the other engines have less cylinders than this? Another big question is, who's the F-Pace for? There's a reason why a ton of the other compact SUVs, even the high performance ones, the GLC 63, the X3M, and of course the Macan GTS, they all have less than 8 cylinders. It's either V6, inline 6, or in the case of the Mercedes GLC 63E Performance Hybrid, it's got a 4-cylinder with a hybrid setup, and we all know how well that worked out for the C63. So I just don't know who's buying this. It's becoming more and more unacceptable to have a compact SUV that gets terrible fuel economy, but that's besides the point. Just look at this thing. It is amazing to look at. It's here in this Santorini black. We've got, of course, the hood vents. We got vents back here to kind of take some of the pressure out of the wheel wells. Huge 22-inch wheels. These are optional, and we'll get to the ride quality, but you might want to spec the 21s. And it's been spec'd in the kind of dark theme. So everything is gloss black. And I know what you guys are thinking. Hey, Marcus, why aren't you comparing this to the other V8 SUVs, the X5M, the GLE 63 AMG, and a few others, some Audis, the SQ8, and stuff like that? And the reason being is this is not that big. It is very slightly larger in every dimension than a Macan, but it's significantly smaller than a Cayenne. A Cayenne is much larger than this. Great looking rear end. This apparently contributes to the lack of wind resistance and drag, so that's good. More of a styling touch than anything. These taillights got updated a few years ago. Black on black Jag badge, that looks awesome. And then of course, SVR, unmistakably. These are fake vents, but not a big deal. The most important part is these aluminum exhaust tips are real. There are a ton of others that have resorted to fake exhaust tips. That's not the greatest. A lot of cargo space back here. Of course, Alcantara headliner, and we have a couple kind of scratchable surfaces. I'm not, you know, a lot of manufacturers do this. I love the way this looks, the brushed aluminum, but you know it's gonna get scratched up. But it is handy. You are able to put down the seats from back here, which is a plus. And it's a, what would you call this, 40-20-40 split, I think. So a ton of options as far as cargo space goes. And it does have quite a bit more cargo space than a Macan. Big bucket seats, they're awesome. The only one downside is it doesn't have an adjustable headrest. That's not a deal breaker. I fit in these phenomenally. They could use a little bit more thigh bolstering, but it's not a deal breaker. Steering wheel here is pretty much perfect. It does have this semi-aniline leather. This one's been spec'd with. Same with the seats. That is like a $1,000, $1,500 option for these seats. Otherwise, they come in Alcantara. We do have Alcantara though on the dash a little bit, and then of course the whole headliner. Everything's stitched beautifully. A light oyster for the leather. It's got mood lighting in here, ambient lighting that you can adjust. We have a button here. Start it up real quick. We have a button here on the steering wheel, which I can change my gauge cluster with. The map can take up the whole screen, which is a huge deal. Of course, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Standard, as it should be. 360 cam is really good, super high quality. It also has automatic parking, which I have not tried, but that's a good feature. You pay extra for that. Overall, this infotainment was updated with that 2021 update. A lot better. I haven't used the previous version, but I've seen videos and kind of how responsive it was. This is great. It's really easy to use. It's minimalist, not quite to the level of Volvo or Polestar. And then of course this one's been spec'd with the Meridian surround sound audio system. It's nothing to write home about. It's good. It's really good. That's not what I'm here to listen to though. That much is obvious. And just physical controls where there should be. And that's actually kind of one of the highlights of having a chassis like this, a model that's aged, because they haven't gone all touchscreen and shoved all the HVAC controls into the screen yet. First off, the back of these seats here are incredible. A lot of space back here. Obviously, the F-Pace doesn't have a ridiculous slope in the back, so rear seat headroom is not compromised at all. So in the back, we've got the same bucket style seats. They look amazing, but they're compromised. If your front passenger seat is too far back and you go to release the rear seats down, the headrests can't retract and they don't have anywhere to go. So there's a little bit of a sacrifice in user friendliness here. Distinctively rear bias, okay? The all-wheel drive system here has a electro-hydraulic multi-plate clutch in the transfer case. So in most scenarios, if not all, 90%, if not all, of the torque will be sent to the rear when you're just cruising, or in some cases in a straight line full throttle. And then when the F-Pace detects that you need some additional grip in the front, it'll send it there, and preemptively it works with the traction control system, speed sensors, all that stuff to do that. I've been driving this for a couple of days. The first night I was out in the rain and I didn't even go full throttle, but just kind of gently powered out of a corner, a little bit aggressively, and the rear end began to step out, but it was like not to the point of counter steer or anything, but it just felt playful. You know, it's a muscle car. It's heavy and it has weight that's moving around and you feel it, but it's not dopey. Like, it's not stupid. There's a ton of confidence. A ton of confidence. 265 wide tires in the front, 295s in the rear. You know, steering's not quite as sharp as something like a Macan, not quite as dialed in. Of course, we do have two settings for the adaptive suspension. It is on the stiffer side. Some of that has to do, of course, with these optional 22-inch wheels, but I keep it in comfort most of the time nonetheless. It's not X5M competition stiff, but it's stiff. So if I had to nitpick one other thing, actually I would say this is probably the F-Pace's biggest flaw, and that is that it drones. That's, in my books, unacceptable. So V8 speed, whether it's trying to save fuel, whatever that means for an F-Pace SVR, or it just wants to quiet the engine down, yeah, sometimes it'll cruise at 1100 RPM, 1400 RPM. And at that point, if you give it any little bit of throttle, any load, it drones. Brake feel is one of my favorite things about the F-Pace and how it handles. Oh my. So, around town, stop and go, the brake pedal takes a little bit to get used to. It's very twitchy, but in turn, what happens when you get used to it, it becomes a true performance input. It feels really good. It's one of my favorite things about the F-Pace. It's incredibly twitchy up top. The bite is right there. There's zero dead space, and then it's really firm and the travel is short. So you get into it and you can feel and modulate the brake, and there's a ton of confidence, and you really just have to get into it. You just have to be intentional, but it's one of my favorite things, and it's not, you know, an X5 or GLE sized SUV. So it's more dynamic. It's more dynamic, but it still has one of the best engines to exist right now, which I think is just incredible. As time has gone on, the elements that we're looking for in a driver's car, even if it is an SUV, are continuously just being pushed up the price ladder. V8s, manuals, NA engines. At large, there's simply less demand every year, and Jag's sales figures have matched that. In a perfect world, yeah, they'd build a much larger SUV to compete with the big boys, but ultimately, it would be an excuse to justify the existence of this silly V8. That's a huge risk. But how are you gonna win if you don't roll the dice, right? And that's exactly what they did. They rolled the dice all right, just not in the direction we wanted. Now we'll see if it'll pay off. For now, the F-Pace remains more powerful and cheaper than a standard Aston Martin DBX, and that's something to celebrate. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit me up on Instagram. We'll see you next time.